Good evening and welcome to tonight's regional news. In the Twin Island Republic, Trinidad and Tobago's economy is expected to contract by 1% this year, the International Monetary Fund has projected in its latest World Economic Outlook. This is a drop from the projection of economic growth of 2.1% that the IMF had predicted in July. According to the IMF, TNT is expected to experience economic growth of 5.4% next year, with growth of 1.6% projected for 2026. Of all the countries in the Latin America and the Caribbean region, Guyana is expected to register the highest level of economic growth the IMF projected. A senior government official on Tuesday expressed concern at the decline in the number of persons getting vaccinated for COVID-19 as Grenada recorded a considerable decline in the number of positive cases, hospitalization, deaths, and positivity rates linked to the pandemic in recent weeks. Hannah Julian St. Paul, the acting permanent secretary with responsibility for hospital services and health services, said as the COVID-19 situation improves, there has been a decline over the last 3 weeks in the number of persons coming forward to receive the first dose of COVID-19 vaccines. I quote, "It leaves us to ask the question, are we getting comfortable with the decline in the positivity rate? The number of new infections has been dropping consistently in the last 3 weeks. However, one death is one too many," end of quote. Grenada has recorded more than 5,000 positive cases as well as 182 deaths since mid-August, after having recorded only one death since January from the virus. And internationally, the U.S. will reopen its land borders to non-essential travel next month, ending a 19-month freeze due to the COVID-19 pandemic as the country moves to require all international visitors to be vaccinated against the coronavirus. Vehicle, rail, and ferry travel between the U.S. and Canada and Mexico has been largely restricted to essential travel, such as trade, since the earliest days of the pandemic. The new rules, announced Wednesday, will allow fully vaccinated foreign nationals to enter the U.S. regardless of the reason for travel, starting in early November, when a similar easing of restrictions is set to kick in for air travel in the country. By mid-January, even essential travelers seeking to enter the U.S., like truck drivers, will need to be fully vaccinated. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the U.S. will accept travelers who have been fully vaccinated with any of the vaccines approved for emergency use by the World Health Organization, like the AstraZeneca vaccine. And finally, former Superman actor Dean Cain has slammed the announcement that the latest Superman comic book character, Jonathan Kent, is bisexual. The 55-year-old actor who starred in the 90s series Lewis and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman weighed in on the news that the latest iteration of Superman, Jonathan Kent, the son of Clark Kent and Lois Lane, falls for a male reporter in DC Comics' upcoming comic book, Superman, Son of Kal-El. Cain said, I quote, "I say they're bandwagoning. I don't think it's bold or brave or some crazy new direction. Brave would having him be fighting for the rights of gay people in Iran. We're talking about real-world problems. There's a real evil in this world today. Plenty of things to fight against. There's human trafficking, real actual slavery. I'd like to see the character doing that. I'd read that comic. This one, I don't think I'll be reading," end of quote. DC Comics announced on Monday, on National Coming Out Day, that John Kent, son of the original Superman Clark Kent and reporter Lois Lane, will kiss a male journalist friend, Jay Nakamura. The comic book series becomes available on November 9. The publisher describes the 17-year-old new Superman as bisexual. That was all for tonight's regional news. Thank you for joining.